Are you thinking of moving to Texas? In today's video, I'm going to cover what you need to know before moving to Texas, why my husband and I, as entrepreneurs, why we love Texas, and 5 things you should know about this great state before you move here, both positive and negative. So I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Pennsylvania on the East Coast in a little city called Monongahela, just outside of Pittsburgh. Growing up, I always hated that I got frostbite on my fingers and my toes on those 0-degree blizzards that we always got in Pennsylvania. So I'm a creature that loves the sun. I need warm weather. We have that in Texas. In 2012, I left Pennsylvania. I went to Missouri to meet and marry my life partner, Josh McCoy. He teamed up with me, and together we run my business, Express Writers, which I started back when I was 19 years old. So in our first year together, we had the freedom to work anywhere we wanted. We had an internet-based business, so we decided to go through the states and pick one. We picked Texas, and we moved in 2013. And we haven't left, but we definitely have made our way through a variety of little towns and cities here in Texas. So in today's video, I'm going to cover why we love Georgetown, Texas, and 5 things you should know before you move here. Let's get into it. So back in 2013, when my husband and I were researching which state do we want to live in, we really had 2 sets of criteria. First, we wanted a state with no income tax. No state income tax. Why wouldn't you want that? As an entrepreneur, less tax means you can pour back into the economy, your business, your team. Only 7 states had that no income tax rule: Alaska, Florida, South Dakota, Nevada, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming. I love Florida, but we don't really love hurricanes, so we had to rule that out. And the other states were kind of too cold for us. So we picked Texas and we decided to tour it. The second piece of criteria, I've already told you, was cold weather. We didn't want cold weather. And we wanted a lot of terrain and nature, places to explore, good hiking. We love to get outdoors. So we toured Texas in 2013. We fell in love with it, and we moved from Missouri to Texas that year. Now, the first place we landed at was Corpus Christi because I thought beach life was for me. Why we didn't like Corpus Christi and why we moved out in 2014 to Austin was because in Corpus, really all you have is the beach life. And that's great, but sand gets everywhere and that gets old. So there's really no good food. There's not a lot of hiking. You can run on the beach and that's a lot of fun, but really that's it. So we made our way to Austin and we rented a house there in 2014. There were a lot of things about Austin that I really loved. Tons of good food. There are restaurants on every corner that are not chain restaurants that source real food, and you have food in every category. And then there's so much to do. There are family-friendly museums, there are parks, hiking, the lake, adventure places like trampoline parks and indoor flying. There's just so much to do. But what we hated was the traffic. I-35 is always jammed up. You can't really go anywhere. Traffic moves at a snail's pace around the dinner hours. In 2015, we moved to Round Rock, and then in 2020, we landed in Georgetown. Round Rock was great, really nothing heavily negative there. There just wasn't enough terrain, enough places to explore. Georgetown has so much more of that, and it's amazing here. For me, it's the perfect blend between country and city life. You have the country, but you have Austin, which is only 30-40 minutes away. We live near Russell Park, which is on the west side of Georgetown, and that's actually considered Texas Hill Country. It's by the San Gabriel River, and it's truly beautiful out here. So that's an overview, and let me give you 5 specific things about Georgetown and the Texas area that you should probably consider before moving here. These are things I wish I knew before we moved here. So number 1, if you're moving anywhere around Austin, Georgetown, Round Rock, be aware of the allergies that hit Texas, called the Cedar season. They affect me all the way from December to March, and I'll be honest, when we moved here, I was not ready. When we left Corpus and went to Austin, the first Cedar season, I was in bed almost every day for a week with 105-degree fever. I had 3 infections set in, Now, I'm very much prone to respiratory infections, so I have that going for me. So if you're not really susceptible to tree pollen, you may be less affected than I was. But in the last few years, it's actually been a record-breaking pollen outbreak. That was true last year, and then that's true again this January of 2021. We had a record-breaking cedar pollen outbreak. Now, the reason it's January and I'm not sneezing and coughing and look disgusting on video is because I've learned how to handle it. And what that really came down to for me was first food and diet. I cut out dairy, I cut out refined sugar, processed oils, processed foods. That was 90% of it. When you heal your body with food, we went from eating all of that to whole foods, real food. We grow our own food now. We have the room in Georgetown to do that. And then whatever we eat, it's real, it's raw, it's actual food, not the processed stuff that's full of dyes and chemicals that you get in the store. So we learned about that 3 to 4 years ago and really made a huge life change. That was 90% in the factor of healing my body from all those respiratory and secondary infections to now being able to handle cedar. And then 10% of it is holistic healing medicine that I take proactively during cedar season. So during cedar season, I do essential oils pretty heavily. Peppermint, eucalyptus are good ones. I just rub them around my ears and on my forehead. We use the doTERRA brand. It's very pure and natural. And then I go to Natural Grocers, which we have here in Georgetown. It's an amazing natural grocery store. And I get some supplements during cedar and allergy season. This is one of them called Allermax, and one of the most important ingredients for me is bromelain that really takes down inflammation and swelling so you don't get those additional infections that can set in from the cedar reacting to your body. And then the other thing I take a lot is turmeric. This is a good brand that I get from Natural Grocers. You can also just take the powder or the liquid form. But I take about 4 of these a day. Turmeric is one of the best supplements I've found that really takes down inflammation. Okay, so that was a loaded point number 1, but that's the main thing I wish I knew before moving here because of how heavily affected I was by the allergies. And I know people that have left Austin because of how bad it gets. But I've been able to prevent and really overcome it by taking those measures. Number 2, Georgetown is a great place to raise a family. Education is pretty important to us. We have a 6-year-old and I teach her at home. We're entrepreneurs, so we're teaching her real life concepts and methods as often as we can, talking to her about money, giving her chores to do, teaching her responsibility. And one thing we love about the school system here, especially in Georgetown, is that they are more traditional based than Common Core. And Texas is one of the states that has that legal choice. I didn't know this at all. In fact, I didn't know this until we moved to Georgetown and we were in the public school here. So we have had an amazing experience in the public school. My first grader comes home with books to read, which is completely refreshing. I hate when she's stuck on an iPad all day. Austin has some great similar schools. A lot of them are Montessori, especially for preschool. Round Rock, we didn't really love. Whenever school went virtual, I saw some things in the curriculum that I just questioned and necessarily didn't agree with, but we haven't had that experience in Georgetown. The public school system has actually been really good. Over the pandemic, our first grader is wearing a mask, but she prefers to do that and handle it so that she can see her friends and be social. She's very outgoing. She's really thriving at school here at Georgetown. Number 3, Texas is really entrepreneurial friendly. I have to say I'm so impressed by the effort the citizens here in this state have done, not politicians, but actual citizens, the work they have done to make our laws simple and easy to understand. For example, we started a farm out here and we're selling some of the products that we're growing. So if you start a farm and you want to grow your own food and then sell it, all you need to do is take a food safety course and label your products. And there's a specific website that's devoted to this, also created by the people, not politicians, called TexasCottageFoodLaw.com. So that specific law really protects people that want to be entrepreneurs, grow, create, sell their own food. And besides food, the laws around business in general, I find pretty simple. In Missouri and Pennsylvania, I ran into a lot of state laws that I just didn't understand and paid extra taxes for and did not make sense. And I don't see a lot of that in Texas. My 4th point ties into the 3rd. So the economy here is booming, which means real estate value is going up like crazy. You may have heard that in December of 2020, Elon Musk relocated from California to Texas. He's about to build his newest automobile factory east of Austin in Del Valle. That hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure it will soon since he's already here in Texas. Elon Musk recently became the richest man in the world. So having him located here in Texas is going to be massive for our economy. Now that's a good and a bad thing, because if you're wanting to move here, cost of houses are skyrocketing. Even here in Georgetown, I'm seeing an acre go for over $100,000, just 1 acre. In the middle of last year, we were able to find a house with land in Georgetown for under $850,000. So it's still possible, but you really have to look, and those things are going fast. The good thing is that real estate will be worth even more here in the years to come. And I have some great real estate friends that really know real estate, and they say the economy here is going to be really hard to negatively impact, no matter what's going on in the US in general. The epicenter of Texas seems to have its own real estate economy. So that's a good and a bad thing. You need money to move down here and invest in a house, especially if you want land and space. But in a few years, what you bought will be worth even more. And what's great is that you can find land without restrictions, no HOA, so you can do things like raise chickens, which is what we have done. And we now believe that everyone should be a chicken farmer, because it's so easy and simple to raise these beautiful animals and have fresh eggs every day from happy chickens in your own backyard. So Georgetown still has a lot of land and space that is no restriction, where you can do things like that. Okay, the last point, it's pretty simple. Hiking out here, the terrain is amazing because much of Georgetown is part of the hill country. And we didn't know this for a long time while living in Austin and Round Rock. And then we went to Georgetown, especially the west side by the San Gabriel River. That is part of the hill country. And you can tell the lake at the end of our street is absolutely beautiful. I go there on a regular basis. I take my little one. She loves it too. We go and find shells here. We swim in the summer. It is a little busy in the summer, not so much in the winter. As you can tell, there's like no one here whenever we went. And this was on a weekend. It was a 70-degree day in January. So if you compare that to Lake Travis in Austin, on a weekend that place is crowded. So you can still find beautiful spaces out here in Georgetown, land, terrain, hiking, that's not overcrowded yet and will give you plenty of time and space to enjoy nature. There are over 40 parks in Georgetown alone and over 30 individual hiking trails. So if you enjoy hiking, landscape, nature, Georgetown is beautiful. Okay, that's a wrap on what to know before moving to Texas. I had to share what we love about Texas. There's something happening right now called the Texodus, where people are moving in by droves, and I want to share why we've enjoyed it. We've been here 8 years. We've been in Georgetown since last spring, and we've really enjoyed it. If you're a part of the Texodus and you're about to leave a state, tell me why. I'd love to hear in the comments. And if you have any questions about life in Texas, let me know in the comments as well. If you want to skim through the 5 points without rewatching the whole video, there's a blog recap of this video at contenthacker.com/Texas. Content Hacker is my brand where I teach and educate marketers how to create better content that pulls in results and traffic, and that is where I blog as well. So check out the links in the description for that blog recap. And be sure to subscribe and hit like on this video if you learned anything, got some good out of this video. I love showing up and giving tons of value. It's one of my favorite things to do. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you around YouTube.